please smash the like. It definitely helps trigger the X algorithm and also the YouTube algorithm. I always want to say this. I'm always grateful for any of you guys who sub to the channel, that appreciate the content. You may think it's silly to smash that like button, but it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Of course, if you're driving, be safe. Don't do it if you're going to cause an accident. All want to see you guys, reach that finish line of generational wealth, right? Absolutely. So here's a virtual dab. Let's get into the last part of what we have. Let's present this. I'm going to first start off past and bring you to the present, okay? I promise you're going to appreciate this. So on this report, this was originally from June 5th, 2023. And basically it's Trace, okay? You guys, for the most part, have been following this. Cool Cat and so on. I don't remember necessarily covering this last year, but I do still feel as though it's more than significant because we have been wanting updates about who are the other businesses, corporations, and so on that are literally going to be utilizing or currently are utilizing Bitcoin Association, tech, original Bitcoin, BSV, their tech moving forward. Because some people point out, everybody's getting out. Oh, yeah. Ever since, it's been verified that, Craig Rice is charlatan, everybody's getting out. Oh, yeah? Really? You really think so? Let's give you an example on this. And, of course, let's give you a blast from the past to bring you to the present. So let's zoom in. And what do you see? You see here that back in June of 2023, it says putting the world on chain with Trace, IBM, Gate 2 Chain. But what really caught my eye, basically, was that, as you can see, Trace, if you're not aware of it, the brainchild of IBM and Gate 2 Chain, is a blockchain-powered platform that facilitates the creation and tracking of digital twins across the entire supply and distribution chain. This is, in my opinion, all you need when it comes to this whole notion that people want to say there is nothing there with IBM and BSV. You just have interviews. You know how many times I've seen that in the comments on the recorded videos? Yeah, you guys who don't, see all the comments all the time, you miss out on all this stuff. So many people point this out. All we got to do is just take the extra steps to research it more. So did this go away? No, of course it didn't go away. So I wanted to just share that with you because I thought it was a big deal. And then I also like how they shared back then their primary objective. What is that? It's to solve everyday problems for real-world businesses, simplify the integration of blockchain tech into business processes. What kind of tech? Well, probably the one that has the supreme TPS, that has nothing, like nothing else matches it. Yeah. So it says here back then that Jessica Yam, if I'm pronouncing that right, operations and business development manager at, Gate 2 Chain looks at it. But it says that Trace requires what, guys? No native tokens, no miner fees, and none of the volatility often associated with blockchain tech. But guess what they do? They use the BSV blockchain. Yeah, boom, right there. So why? Right? Well, the Trace platform allows users to create that digital twin, essentially a token of any item, and store valuable information within them. Aha. Yeah, like another moment of, like we joked around the other day, Coming to America, I don't know if it was Eddie Murphy's character song, but, the guy in the barbershop, right? This is your Why is that? Because when you hear Michael Saylor, and I have nothing personal against him, right? I'm not that type of guy. But he's very passionate, and he's made numerous examples of, he has friends down in Wall Street, and they own buildings in New York and so on, down in Manhattan. And he's just like, Bitcoin is not about, taking a chunk of the skyscraper and using that to buy a cup of coffee. That's the example he used. You don't believe me? Watch some of the interviews, right? I don't have those ready tonight. Maybe I could share that, but anybody can look this up. So the point he tries to make is that Bitcoin is digital property. And that sounds good. Don't get me wrong. Like as much as I want to talk about this tech with BSV, what they bring to the table because it's original Bitcoin, I can also understand that, okay, yeah, you guys want to label BTC as digital property and you want to call it Bitcoin. The problem that I have and everybody else has who has read the original Bitcoin white paper is that doesn't really fall in line with what? Right. What is mentioned in the Bitcoin protocol for a peer-to-peer cash system. Exactly. But when you see this about a store, let me zoom in more, about what? Being able to store valuable information within them, this is where Michael Saylor does get passionate about it. Is he passionate about the wrong thing? Again, that's, debatable. But that has been pointed out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually stop the screen for a second, give you some of my notes about this. And again, it's about Trace. And again, it's about how they require no native tokens, no miner fees, none of the volatility associated with blockchain tech, but instead, like the whole thing with IBM, uses BSV blockchain to allow users to create all these things. Well, what is the significance of all of it? And what is the significance in regards to like Trace? Because maybe you never heard of Trace. Well, the point is this: combating counterfeiting. Trace creates digital twins of physical items, allowing for verification of provenance and authenticity throughout their life cycle. Let me think about this. Even the United States Secret Service, which specializes, as we know, in combating, they're at some point going to have to embrace Web3. But what about Bitcoin? Yeah, you know where we're going with this. So being able to allow verification, authenticity throughout the life cycle, it deters counterfeiting and protects brand reputation. What about enhanced transparency? Trace provides a tamper-proof record of an item's journey, building trust between businesses and consumers. Now, hear me out on this, because I know some of you guys are invested into what? VeChain. And one of the things that VeChain has bolstered since at least 2020, 2021 is the concept of creating a utility of being able to see what's counterfeit and what's real. The examples I've given in the past is like, you go to New York and you go to, the shipping docks and so on. Are you really buying a real polo parka, or is it a fake polo parka? There's two black markets, as we know. There's the black market that has real stolen items, and they sell that for significantly marked down prices because they want to make a quick flip, right? We know it's wrong, but that exists. And then there's the other black market, and that is all the fake stuff from China and so on. That's not like your real Air Jordans, or isn't your real polo parkas and so on, right? How would you like to be able to have technology with Bitcoin that already is going to do that? And with who? With Trace. How cool is that? How come nobody's talking about this? That is no knock on VeChain. I like VeChain, and I'm always rooting for people's success with VeChain. I don't hold VeChain, but I do recognize that when it comes to trade, VeChain is always mentioned. XDC is always mentioned. Morpheus Network. Let's be honest, we should talk about Quant more in that mix. Heck, we even talk about JASMY being able to be part of that mix of trade, right? But guys, I want you all to keep in mind that Trace, with their use case and so on, using the technology of BSV, consumers will gain peace of mind knowing the origin and authenticity of products they purchase. Back to Digital G's example. You have, 5 or 6 patents? Yes, on that update on May 7th. And this expands on all this? It does. Kind of have an idea how this all comes together. What about the benefits, not just for Trace, but, let's get back to where we're at. BSV, because we hold BSV. Well, 3 main things I want to get into tonight in regards to those benefits. This showcases real-world application. Isn't that where it's at? Yeah. Trace demonstrates the practical use of BSV blockchain beyond just crypto. Who's another example that does that I talk about all the time? Quant with the Overledger, right? Tokenization of real world assets. And look what BlackRock's doing. Look what the Abyss is doing. But when we talk about the original Bitcoin and what they're doing, this is why I hold it. I recognize the tech. I'll recognize any tech that has value. If it has value, I want to be part of it. If I can. I can't buy everything, right? But ones that stand out, I'm going to pay attention to that, especially ones that just smoke the competition. What about attracting new businesses? Benefits for BSV. Well, the successful implementation of Trace can attract companies. Most importantly, ones seeking secure and transparent supply chain solutions. Again, back to trade, supply chain. Remember that example I gave by VeChain? Supply chain solutions boosting BSV's adoption. Don't you just love that BSV? You know, we talk about TPS and so on, but it ain't just about that. They hit so many sectors. So, that umbrella effect. I like that because it boosts BSV adoption. For the naysayers that just don't see it, have they done their proper research? Let's just be honest about that. When you see these guys in the comments, and we will see a flood of them, you better believe it, of the haters. They always point out the negative aspects. They always focus on Craig Wright and so on. Again, back to what Reggie Milton talked about. He doesn't even care if Craig Wright is who he is. But guess what? You had a guy who was all out on BTC who recognizes, BSV. Remember we pointed this out with Rue Black. Shout out to Brother Rue. You guys need to give Brother Rue a follow. If you ain't following Rue, I don't know what you're doing. He brings you guys great deep dive content just as much as I do. You appreciate deep dive content. You follow Rue Black at Black Rue. BLACKRUE. Shout out to Rue. Look forward to having you hopefully back next week or whenever you're come back. All right. What about the whole thing of strengthening the ecosystem? I talk about Stellar a lot, do I not? I talk about trying to get a thriving ecosystem with Sormon. A thriving trace platform built on BSV. What is that going to do? It's going to strengthen the overall BSV ecosystem. So before kicking into this video, and it's a good solid video, I want you guys to understand that Trace's success story with, for example, Michelin-starred chef Ollie Dubois. I think it's Dubois, Le Macholi. Dubois. I don't know. I'm thinking that's the way to pronounce it. Exemplifies the platform's potential to ensure even food authenticity. That sounds crazy, right? This bodes very, very well for BSV as Trace expands to other industries like pharmaceuticals, where counterfeiting poses a significant threat. Yes, the counterfeiting of pharmaceuticals is a big problem, right? And that's also dating back to the whole thing of, the black market, pharmaceutical black market, right? So let's jump into this. Here is the recent news. Here it is, straight from, I believe, I'll give you guys the link, CoinGeek, right? CoinGeek always does an excellent job of giving you guys updated news for BSV. Here it is. All right. So there it is for all the nerds. Go to coingeek.com/gate2chain, and then it'll come up. It's about enterprises, governments with data integrity management. This is horrible tech. Oh, shame on them for using Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin Association for BSV. Give me a break, right? Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. Look at it for yourself. What does it mention here? It mentions on May 8th, literally yesterday, guys, Gate2Chain to provide enterprises, governments with data integrity management. Most importantly, how they had that big year unveiling Trace, right? So I'm glad I shared that with you guys who didn't know about Trace. I even learned some more new things, right? But look what it says, just for all the naysayers, and you better believe they're going to come out of the woodwork like freaking roaches. They're going to say, there's nothing about IBM and BSV. Okay, once again, Trace represents a partnership between Gate2Chain and IBM, built on the public BSV blockchain. Oh, all I have to do is do a Google search. Yeah, you freaking research noobs out there who just see, BSV. Oh, I can't look past what's in front of my nose. Do a search, I hate to call these guys noobs, but that's what they basically are. They all just look at price. All I see is price. Oh, this guy's a charlatan. He's scam. These guys could care less, apparently. They recognize that the tech blows everything else out of the water. That's worth pointing out. So IBM, BSV, boom, there's your boy that mashed a stick in a stew moment. But we have more. Going more into this, you will see unbounded scalability, obviously. I mean, this thing can, with Terranode, we saw, for example, 9 million TPS, low transaction fees. That's awesome. So, like Stellar, you have low transaction fees, but you don't have super fast TPS yet. They claim they're going to scale. But when it comes to scalability, CoolCat's right. Nothing comes close to BSV because, for one, we're at 9 million TPS. What happens when we get to the billions? Or what happens with what Satoshi was talking about? Trillions. I mean, come on, right? So to increase awareness, Gate2Chain has a significant presence in London Blockchain Conference. Love how it says London. Love how we reference it, reference, what was it, England, Wales, and Switzerland, right? And there were, an exhibitor, speaker. They also sponsored a pre-conference dinner with the ingredients of the meal, all twinned using Trace. I guess we're trying to showcase this. And then once again, a video. And what's it say? Gate2Chain and IBM want to put the world on chain. With what? BSV. Because it even says Bitcoin protocol right here. Right here. As a system. Fiat uses only. No native token, no minor fees, no price volatility. When we talk about volatility, understand that we're entering into the next stage. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this. I can play the whole thing because this is 30 minutes. I'm going to bring you here. This was posted 1 day ago, guys. 1 freaking day ago. Gate2Chain, IBM, put the world on chain with Trace. We're going to show this little intro. I'm going to skip forward because I don't want to get to the whole thing. But listen to this. This is really cool. Who's this lovely, good-looking lady? Well, basically speaking, it is... Well, she does introduce her name. Jessica Jean, if I pronounce that right. That's who it is. Listen to what she has to say. She's going to introduce this, just in case you never heard this before. Here we go.
Today, we are delighted to present our latest solution, Trace, a cutting-edge B2B platform which we have built in partnership with our trusted partner, IBM. Trace has been created in alignment with the core mission of Gate2Chain. Our primary objective is to solve everyday problems for real-world businesses and simplify the integration of blockchain technologies into business processes. So how do we do this? Gate2Chain provides a unique development framework suite, which is a complete framework with all the tools needed for blockchain innovation. This suite allows the integration into new or existing applications, websites, and platforms of any kind. Trace has been created on top of the Gate2Chain suite using advanced functionalities, and the result is a user-friendly platform with all the benefits of blockchain technology. At Gate2Chain, we see Bitcoin protocol as a system, and this has been possible due to 2 major developments. First, blockchain infrastructure, blockchain as a service software that solely uses fiat. There is no need of native token, minor fees, or price volatility for the companies connected to the Gate2Chain suite. Second, we have advanced data management capabilities that allow large and structured files as well as types of data to be stored securely. We have incorporated these features into Trace, recognizing the need for the system that not only secures the current value of a product, but also its future potential. Now I will leave you with a quick video of what is Trace. Trace is a platform that allows the creation of digital twins of any item and store valuable information in them, such as, for example, historical records, certificates, or sustainability plans. Trace solves critical problems such as authenticity, traceability, counterfeiting, theft, and circularity challenges. Our initial vision was to tackle issues in the luxury goods sector such as counterfeiting and theft, but during development phase, we realized that trace could be beneficial to any product that required traceability. Trace helps companies to improve and prolong the relation with consumers, increase the value of their products, and enhance the recognition of their brands. We believe that it is important to create a record for life for products and showcase their journey over time to secure their value. This is possible with digital twins. An unbreakable link between the original product and its digital twin provides the certainty of ownership. Here there is a real-life example taken from the fashion industry. Cortana is a slow fashion luxury Spanish brand focused on sustainability and craftsmanship. Until now.
All right, I don't want to play this whole thing, but my thing is this. Remember how she just literally said, like 20 seconds ago, putting it on Shane in the value. This is literally everything that Michael Saylor, if you watch any of his interviews, he was talking about this. So for one, it's like, okay, we understand that, you know, it's like, oh, BTC, it's got a high value currently speaking, right? You know, we saw it like over 74, 75,000, give or take. You know, and for a lot of those people, they're like, yeah, that's where it's at. But when you see that we have 9 million TPS with BSV, and you literally hear the examples that she's talking about, putting that value on Shane in these blocks and so on, back to what Michael Saylor was talking about, except for with BTC, like what Michael Cornwell was talking about, the Pony Express, the crypto, 4 to 7 TPS. I mean, give me a break. So for one, you're getting that true peer-to-peer cash system, and you're also getting the benefits of what she's talking about here. And did you not notice that in the background, it even shows IBM, constantly mentions IBM. So does IBM point out any of this nonsense in regards to Dr. Craig Wright, charlatan? Never gets brought up because they're focused on tech. That's where it's at. These companies want to take it to the next level. That's the bottom line. Fast forwarding it to the next part of what we have. Let's get into this. So we saw the use cases, right? We don't need to get into how to, you know, use a trace video. I mean, that's lovely, right? There's Dr. Agatha Slater. You guys know about her, which is cool. I mean, you know, you could nerd it out with that. But I want to jump into this part. Trace customer benefits. And then the next part we're going to get is regards to some of this other nitty gritty. Okay. So let's jump into here. The customer benefits. Let's go ahead right about here. Here we go.
But Trace offers other benefits to customers. A digital token that is created via a Trace platform works as a digital proof of ownership. And such an immutable information about who owns what in the digital space is particularly valuable in some sectors: luxury goods, arts and collectibles, or real estate. And such digital tokens are also easily transferable, making the whole process of ownership transfer very easy, cheap, cost-effective, since it reduces the intermediaries usually involved in such processes. Also, such tokens can create further loyalty and engagement among customers, as they can unlock some unique benefits, create communities, or be included in current loyalty programs. But Trace also offers tangible benefits to businesses. A brand that is willing to transparently manifest its manufacturing processes can become perceived by customers as more trustworthy, reliable, and that can convert to more sales. By removing the intermediaries and administrative overhead usually involved in assessing the quality and authenticity of goods and products, Trace makes companies also more effective, efficient, and cost-effective and efficient. And soon, issuing a digital passport of a product will not just be a nice feature to have, but it will become a regulatory requirement. The European Commission is already drafting a regulation that will enforce more transparency from manufacturers who will have to report their procedures and activities they are taking in manufacturing in a way that is immutable and easily verifiable. A digital product passport issued by Trace makes a company compliant by design and reduces any potential of human error and fines. And last but not least, a digital history of assets and a digital record of any events that are happening in a supply chain can boost the relationship between business partners in a supply chain by removing potential disputes and discrepancies of everything that is happening along the way. And now I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Patryk Walaszczyk, who will show you how Trace actually works. Thank you.
Thank you, Agata. Good afternoon. My name is Patryk Walaszczyk, and I am blockchain consultant at IBM. And I've been involved in Trace projects since the very beginning, starting from design phase through architecture and actual delivery. And I would like to say thank you, and I'm really proud of our IBM blockchain team for delivering another fantastic solution based on BSV blockchain. And as well, I would like to thank you for whole Gate2Chain team for selecting us as a partner and this grateful cooperation throughout the whole project. However, going back into a Trace platform, as Jessica said in the very beginning, Trace platform is not a standalone application. It's a part of a broader product portfolio of Gate2Chain, and it is also integrated with some tools from the Gate2Chain suite which already exist. First of all, it is using a wallet infrastructure and the Metanet trees. The wallet infrastructure, Gate2Chain wallet infrastructure, is actually a robust platform which offers us a possibility to create and manage digital wallets within the blockchain environment. And the Metanet trees are a groundbreaking data structure protocol, and this protocol allows us to encapsulate a vast amount of data into transactions, making it, providing us integrity and traceability on the blockchain. However, from a perspective of the users of the Trace platform, the most important is simplicity. And to guarantee this simplicity, the Trace platform offers the set of APIs, which could be used to seamless integration with the ERP and the CRM systems, enabling the creation and updating of digital twins. On the other hand, Trace platform also offers a possibility to integrate with some consumer applications. And it is crucial and important part because for the end users, they would like to see the products they are going to track inside some application which is offered by the manufacturer or the company which products they are going to use. Which means that with the use of these APIs, the Trace platform could be incorporated into currently existing applications offered by the industry leaders and the manufacturers who are offering the products to the customers. And with this integrated approach, the application acts as a central hub bridging the gap between the business system and consumer applications. And this is especially important because this provides us the possibility to ensure that the data flows is secure and it is smoothly providing us the trust and transparency to the whole ecosystem. But now, I would like to introduce you something that most of you probably is waiting for. So what actually the Trace platform does. So Trace platform is going to be offered as a software as a service, but it's actually already offered as a software as a service, which basically means that the only thing you have to do is to register your account, pay for the subscription, and you can start using it. When your account has been created, then you can go through the application, logging into that, and when you get in, then you will be you will see some dashboard which is presenting you the basic information about your Trace platform instance.
All right, so I want to point out, because I mean, we're not going to play this whole thing because I don't want to make a 2-hour video. So luxury items, okay, like I pointed out in the live chat. Some of you guys are watching this and recorded, you don't get that. But the point is, luxury items. Now, I'm personally invested, obviously, into LCX, the Liechtenstein Exchange. Jawohl, right? So the key thing is understanding that, wow, what they're describing here, luxury on chain, LCX is all over that like Augustine Carstens on cake, right? My key thing is understanding there is so many different utilities and luxury items, real world assets, all this stuff, of all this other stuff that we talk about all the time, and it falls under that umbrella of what Bitcoin has, BSV, original Bitcoin. Okay, so it's like, wow, you know, I will agree with Cool Cat. It's like when you talk about Web3, you know, Bitcoin BSV associate is Web3. So I'm going to fast forward to the last part of this before we wrap it up. And yeah, this is really cool. I mean, and you know, this whole notion that, oh, you know, IBM and BSV is not there. How many times do you see these guys from IBM? Literally, it labels them just in case, you know, for some of the people like, oh, I want more proof. I don't know who these guys are. I want proof. How many times do you see those IBM references and so on? So, yeah, the chosen one clearly is BSV for IBM. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and full screen this. Let's jump into this last particular part in regards to the last part of the walkthrough. All right, let me see here. Yeah, this is just where he's wrapping it up. Here we go.
Thank you.
This is the part I want to highlight real quick. Notice in the background, okay, it says, imagine somebody stealing your gold and it turning into lead. And when you recover it, it turns into gold again. Craig S. Wright. Yeah, I had to freeze it on that one because you know what? Sometimes we get some of those Easter eggs, right? All right, let's share this last part.
So as a closing note, let's think about a recent incident that happened last year in Ibiza. A Richard Mille McLaren Formula One watch worth 1.2 million was stolen whilst the tourist was walking on the street. Imagine that this valuable watch had a digital twin, which of course contains the information of the owner. Then the robbery could have been stopped, as the thieves would have had a hard time trying to do anything with it. Like, for example, selling it on the secondary market. With a digital counterpart, a successful theft could be turned into a pointless act. This quote from Dr. Craig Wright inspired Gated Chain to build Trace. We invite you to visit tracedpp.com to learn more about how Trace can revolutionize your business. Thank you for your time and attention.
All right, don't need to hear that last part. So, what do you guys think? I mean, my goodness. Wow. You know, if that doesn't instill confidence in regards to what you hold for Bitcoin, BSV, then I don't know what to tell you. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some of the haters. They're going to come out of the woodwork like they always do. But, you know, as the saying goes, everybody could use a boost of morale. Like, that makes me want to, I'm just going to be honest, not financial advice, never is. That makes me want to get more BSV. You better believe it. You know, so impressed because, I mean, freaking IBM. Are you kidding? Love the examples that Trace mentioned. Lovely lady. My God, beautiful. That in itself is sexy when you see somebody, you know, who's smart like that and has the looks and so on. So that's cool too. But anyway, it's just, it's a feel-good moment. You like to see where we're going for the future. And yeah, hate to disappoint the haters. Not going to shut up about talking more about Bitcoin, real Bitcoin, original Bitcoin. So that actually isn't the closing part. I do have some notes I want to get into because, you know, what's the point of me writing all this stuff up if, you know, I fail to share it. So you saw what was presented. before we wrap it up, actually, I want to point out just I'd say maybe, I don't know, just a few things, okay? So we know that back in 2023, Trace unveiled, what they're bringing to the table, okay? And it's nice to finally get an update. Some people feel as though that these projects go away. They don't necessarily go away. These are high quality projects that are building, right? And then they embrace, for example, this tech from BSV. So remember how we talked about supply chain? Well, it's the transparency. Trace offers a way to track provenance, as we know, of items through the supply chain. That right there is basically what VeChain is trying to do. That's no knock on VeChain. But again, another utility, if you will, bringing it to Bitcoin, original Bitcoin. That's awesome. This can help ensure authenticity, identify counterfeit goods, and improve quality control. So, I mean, when we talk about this next era for Web3, when it comes to dealing with fraud, wouldn't it be something that eventually it's like, yeah, the United States Secret Service fully gets behind Bitcoin? If the United States Air Force has this whole thing with DAG that we know about, which we've seen, why wouldn't something like the United States Secret Service get behind this? They need tools at their disposal to defeat counterfeit, whereas counterfeit money and so on. I think it's just a matter of time before that whole thing finally gets, it's a wrap, as the saying goes. So that's cool, being able to identify counterfeit goods and improve quality control. All right, so Trace, leveraging the public BSV blockchain, known for its scalability and, of course, low transaction fees. I mean, come on. Terranode itself, last test was 9 million. Probably see it go up here soon. But it could make it a more viable solution for businesses compared to other blockchains. That's a competitive edge. Absolutely. About partnership, well, this collaboration between Gate2Chain, a company specializing in supply chain solutions, and IBM, as we know, is the tech giant, could bring greater adoption and legitimacy to Trace. I think you already see that. I mean, come on, it's IBM. Right there, that's all anybody needs to hear. IBM, involved with Trace, involved with Bitcoin BSV, you're good. For some people, that's good enough. I'm one of them. All right, let me give you a breakdown about the implications, okay? So Gate2Chain, Trace has the potential to be a game changer, of course, for them, establishing them as a leader in blockchain-based supply chain solutions. That's a win. What about IBM? Because, I mean, even though we saw them there, what about IBM? Well, this project in itself allows IBM specifically to showcase its expertise in blockchain tech and its potential applications in the real world. I'm telling you flat out, BSV is the chosen one for IBM. I think it's obviously clear at this point. We also seen IBM with Stellar. I think that's all there. Obviously, it's Casper. But guess what? Do you notice, as the saying goes, the quality over the quantity? It's not that IBM is just, putting themselves out there and everything. No, they are hand-picking ones that stand out. So, yeah, kudos to Casper, even in that regard. But that's generative AI, and that's not the subject of tonight, and especially when it comes to AI governance, I should say. Back to BSV. Increased adoption of Trace could lead to wider use of BSV's blockchain. That's a win. We want to see that. And of course, it could potentially boost its value and reputation, especially with all the negative press that's happened in regards to Dr. Craig Wright. Overall, as we know, Trace represents a significant development in using blockchain tech. It will improve supply chain transparency. You already saw that in those examples of the video we just shared. But more importantly, the success of Trace could pave the way for wider adoption of this tech in the future. And with that also said, glad to bring it to you guys, because guess what? We all need to understand what we hold and not get flooded out like, oh, these guys are saying this in the comments. Forget what the guys are saying in the comments that want to just be haters of it and so on. We all got to take the deeper dives into some of this stuff and realize on the back end of things, it's just that. The back end of things is showing that there's companies like Trace. They have big updates. They are using the tech. And they could give two you-know-whats about oh, Dr. Craig Wright, he was over in England and so on, and all this bad negative press. No mention of that. Focus is on what, though? The tech, luxury items put on chain, real world assets put on chain, solving real problems with real use case, defeating counterfeit nonsense, mumbo jumbo. That's value. That's tremendous value. So that concludes the Bitcoin BSV coverage of the night. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing it to you guys. Shout out to Michael Middleton for giving me some of the references, and also shout out to Digital GG for some of his sideline reporting. If you want to be a sideline reporter of this channel, give me a follow over on the X platform. Thank you so much.